Welcome back to Moon Phase Tarot Call. I am Taylor Ursula, and we have a very interesting Virgo full moon to talk about. So let's dig in. Now, what makes this full moon so interesting, you ask? Well, if you didn't know, we are in the throes of Pisces season where nothing is as it appears, is it? If you watched my Pisces prediction poll video, then you may remember that I described this full moon as a little bit tricky, a little bit sticky, a little bit funky, a little bit. And let's get into why that is. So, all of Pisces season is sort of, I'm calling it Neptune's court. Okay. We are in the throes of Neptune's world right now. The sun is there, Mercury is there now. And Mercury is a big player in this Virgo full moon. Mercury will be ruling this full moon, as well as ruling Mars, who you may recall is still slowly creeping its way out of its retrograde shadow in Gemini. So what happens on the day of this full moon is that this moon squares this Mars. And that brings up some of the Gemini, Virgo kind of hyperactivity feedback loop. In Gemini, we want to know the information. We want to parse through the facts so that we can make a decision. That decision may change at any moment based on new information coming in. Meanwhile, the moon in Virgo wants to work very diligently, very hard to make things perfect, to make things amazing, to use that information that was gathered in Gemini and to then refine it, perfect it, create something tangible from it in Virgo. When these signs meet and clash, when these planets who are moving along the same axis, Gemini and Virgo are all part of the mutable axis. And so when we have these two planets trying to move along and get things done, and they clash, there's a little bit of, whoa, 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 what? Whoa, whoa, but this, but that, but I had this figured out, but this was happening. La, 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 la. Can be a lot. Can be a lot. At a full moon in particular, we are dealing with heightened emotions. We're dealing with everything being brought to the surface. So it's not just your run-of-the-mill feedback loop. It's a very heightened emotional feedback loop about all the steps we've taken and all the facts that we've had and all the information that we've brought into this and all of the work that we've put into this. And what do you mean it's not perfect? Can you feel the chaos now? It's a brewing. Okay. What else makes this a tricky full moon is, again, Neptune's court. So the moon then has to face off against Neptune as well. And where we have this feedback loop from Gemini to Virgo, Neptune confounds the whole thing from Pisces and brings our attention to the fact that none of it is actually anything like what we envisioned when we set off on this path to begin with. There's a lot of energy, a rush of energy, a feeling of needing to get something done, and then a revelation that what is done? Nothing is ever done. What does done really mean? And can anything really be perfect? Nothing I make will ever be as perfect as it is in my mind's eye. That's a lot to contend with. That's a lot to contend with. So we've got to figure out how to ground in all of this. We may be compelled to lash out. We may be caught up in the drama of what is working out, what isn't working out, what has changed since we started on this path, what it all even really means. And if we cannot create meaning, we can feel defeated. We can feel a little futile, just a little, this was pointless. Why did I bother? And that's not a good feeling to sit with. So the call is to figure out beyond all of that, what can I sit with? How can I tune into some of the liminal that isn't of the tangible realm? How can I lean into being one of or part of something that is bigger than me and that I don't ultimately control in the long run? When we try to force things to be real, doesn't usually work out. So the best bet is to lean into some of the unknown, even though that is a bit confounding. our final note for this full moon in Virgo is that this is the day that we've all been waiting for. Saturn is moving into Pisces. And so everything I said about Neptune's court, we are sort of at the mercy of Neptune and this big unknown, this deep fog. Saturn's about to sail right into it. And so this is setting off about 5 years or so that Saturn's going to be co-present with Neptune in Pisces before they meet at 0 degrees of Aries, the world point. Okay, so we are in for a time of ups and downs, of liminality. Everything that we've spent the past 6 years getting really clear on is going to help us as we get unclear about the next chapter of what Saturn's about to swim into. We would be wise to lean into some of that confusion, to find where we can embrace some of that confusion, where we can be curious about things that are intangible, where we are part of what is intangible, where we end and something else begins. It's time to get a little cozy in this strange weather. So we're going to pull some cards and get a look at what's in store for us at this full moon. So stay tuned.
All right, so we are looking at our polls for the last 2 moon cycles. This is how we started at the Pisces new moon. We talked about how we restarted with the Fool, which is how we started at the Aquarius new moon. We had the Two of Cups show up, which is how we had the Taurus first quarter moon start. So we have some repeating themes. So if you want to hear all about the narratives that we explored in the Pisces new moon and the Gemini first quarter moon, definitely go click the buttons below, check out those videos to hear the full story and to see how this is all going to weave into our narrative moving forward. If this is your first time tuning in, we are working with my debut tarot deck, Portals. Let's get started. At this full moon, we're going to be asking some questions about the situation that is culminating for us now. We're going to ask how I can make space for this situation or revelation. We'll then ask what we're able to celebrate in the light of this full moon. And lastly, we'll check in about what we are invited to release in the light of this full moon as well. So we will all get a chance to explore what this moon's bringing out for us, and we'll see how this weaves into our broader lunation cycle. Okay, let's pull these cards. All right, beautiful. Here we go. Okay, the situation that is culminating now is the Magician. Y'all, what is happening? I feel like this is what we saw leaving in last month's third quarter moon. Okay, all right, okay. So it's not quite exactly the same as how it showed up in the Leo full moon cycle last month, but this is very interesting that we continue to see the same cards in the same placements weeks later. So a situation that is culminating now. We are seeing some tools line up. We are seeing some opportunities align. We are seeing some moments that we want to take advantage of. We are seeing an opportunity appear that may not appear anytime in the near future again the way that it is now. We are seeing ourselves step into new alignment with a sense of purpose. We are feeling our ideas and our actions and our attitudes and our desires and who we are and what we feel all kind of lining up in some beautiful, unprecedented way. This means that we have a green light in some capacity. And I'll mention too that we have Mercury really highlighted here because this is a card that represents Mercury, right? And so I mentioned earlier that Mercury is ruling both the moon in Virgo as well as Mars in Gemini, which the moon will square at this full moon. And so it really is Mercury's bag at this point. It really is Mercury holding all the cards. Mercury's holding all the chips. Mercury's got all the tools. Mercury is the one kind of running the show. From Pisces, it may be this very big picture sort of alignment coming together, and that may be one of Pisces, Piscean Mercury's gifts and talents, is being able to see a big picture opportunity that we might not recognize from Gemini or Virgo, right? Okay. How I can make space for this situation or revelation. It's the Page of Pentacles. Let's get to work. Maybe we're not leaping into work yet. This isn't the Knight of Pentacles, okay? So we're not necessarily prepared with a plan. And at this point, we may be creating the plan. We may be coming up with or inviting in ideas for actions we can take. This is where we want to connect with possibilities. Again, we're looking at a kind of leaf emerging from the ether space. So we're still in that sort of liminality. We're still in that possibility. Nothing is quite firm yet, but we are imagining the potential for things. And so this could be making a list of possible steps. This could be getting an idea of how we can get this started, where we can get this started, what kind of places we're going to need access to, what kind of people we're going to want to work with, right? So we're going to want to get really clear on some of the tangible elements and possibilities of what this situation, what this opportunity may be bringing us, or what this sense of alignment may be bringing in. We want to move from alignment and from theoretical and liminal and possible into tangible. Okay, what would that look like moving forward? What would we actually do? This may involve a person too. This could be you, or this could be, I'm going to talk to someone, I'm going to consult with someone about what the steps would be. This is a pretty big moment, right? So we may want someone who's able to help get us started down that path. What I'm able to celebrate at the light of this moon is knowing nothing. Okay. How meta. Thank you, moon, for showing up in this moment. So what we can celebrate at the light of this moon, this is very Neptunian, this is very Piscean, so it is not a surprise to see this energy here. This really represents to me what we've discussed about all of the Neptune unknowns. This could literally be Neptune's court. And so we're celebrating that. We're celebrating the state of confusion. And the moon calls us within to become familiar with our shadows. These are snakes that live within us. They have instincts. We fear them if we do not become familiar with them. There are sounds, there are sights, there are feelings, there are energies within our subconscious, and they can feel really lurky and creepy if we don't go inward and check them out. If we don't consciously go within, slow down a little bit, and actually feel out what's going on in there. We tend to rush through the moon. I like to describe this as driving through a deep fog at night, and our gut may be panicky, and we may feel that we want to go through it as quickly as possible, and that's going to lead us to an accident. That's going to lead us to drive off a cliff or into a tree because we cannot see what's happening, and going fast is not the solution. So we go slow. And I love that this is a celebration. We are entering into the fog. Everything I said about Saturn being co-present with Neptune for this time, we're invited to go within and sort of explore and celebrate all of that unknown within us, to be open and curious to it and not to fear it. And definitely not to rush through it. That's what some of this Mars, some of this mercurial energy, the moon square Mars may call us to try to rush, to try to drive quickly. We may skip some of these steps, and we may end up off of a metaphorical cliff. Let's not. Let's explore this. Let's figure out how to enjoy exploring going slow also. It's a celebration. And lastly, what I am able to release in the light of this moon. Ooh, oh my. I love to see the Ten of Swords as something we're letting go of. This means that we've actually moved through the worst. all of this feeling of like it's aligning and I have to have the steps and I need to go slow so that I don't rush off into an unknown I wasn't prepared for. All of this so that we can release some of the deepest anxieties we've carried, some of the worst case scenarios we've either entertained or had to actually endure. This is some of the worst of what we experience in the tarot, right? Betrayals, endings, surrenders, just a lot of weight that tends to come with the 10. And so in this, we have the kind of light that's rising from that darkness, knowing that we've hit kind of the bottom, the rock bottom, if you will, and the sun continues to rise and we have a chance to start over. And so if we've moved through a feeling of the 10 of Swords at any point lately, at any point in this year, as an energy that we've carried over from 2022, this is when we are invited to release it. And I think that we maybe encounter some of the anxiety of this full moon expecting to hit this again. We never want to be here again. And that's probably why we're trying to rush off. We're like, no, the first sign that I could even be remotely in the same area as this, I can't be there. It's not safe for me. It's time to recognize we can let this go. And actually, the going slow at this time and the celebrating going slow and going within in order to better understand some of our subconscious material is actually what helps us release this. So we're doing ourselves a solid by tuning into what opportunities or what alignment is present now, getting clear on some of the tangible steps forward while also maintaining some patience while we navigate some subconscious material, also that we can be free of needing to be back in this 10 of Swords space. I take it, okay? I love it. I love to be free of the 10 of Swords. I love to release the 10 of Swords. And if moving through these steps can help us do so, recognize we've got 2 major arcana cards and a court card, as well as a 10. We are not in the beginning of anything. The Magician is sort of a beginning vibe, but the major arcana tells us that it's a broader, longer narrative. We are in a chapter of our experience. This is not a one and done. This is something that we can move forward from as we tune into some of these broader themes that we're exploring. So I hope that this brings you some peace, some freedom from some of this kind of lurking weight here. And I hope that you can embrace some of these unknowns with some curiosity, with a sense of alignment, and just focus on the practical and the tangible at this time. Go slow, turn on those headlights, get comfortable with some of the creatures that emerge, and invite them to be your friends, all right? It makes me think of Yumi Sakagawa inviting our demons to tea, right? So if we can do this, if we can move past some of the frustration into exploring, I think that can be really helpful to us and certainly illuminate for us where we're letting go of these themes from the past. All right, y'all, I will see you next week for our 3rd quarter moon in Sagittarius shenanigans. All right, take it easy, be well, and try out the spread for yourself. Let me know in the comments what you pull. See you next time.